All right, guys. So thank you everyone for joining us today. Couple things right off the top. As you can see, I'm back in the office. The staff is back in the office starting today. So we're going to be getting back to normal. We're excited about that. I know we've got a lot of the teams and agents that are planning on coming back in on Monday and getting, getting plugged back into the normal day to day. So that's really exciting. I know a lot of us have been, very stress dealing with the issues we've been dealing with in the last couple months, working from home and all that sort of stuff. So a little bit of normality is going to be great for us, I think. But thank you so much to Patrick for joining us on the call today. If you guys didn't see my post on Facebook, Patrick's taken over 30 listings, since the beginning of this year, and if I'm not mistaken, the bulk of those are expired or database. So we asked Patrick just to get on here and talk to us a little bit, because obviously he is having a tremendous amount of success despite everything else that's happening. And I know a lot of us are really focused on creating habits and staying focused on our business and trying to do the same thing he is. So I just wanted him to get on here and share a little bit. And then, of course, I want you guys to ask questions. He's obviously doing certain things around his lead generation, his systems, his client care, all that sort of stuff to drive that success. So it's a great opportunity for you all to ask questions if you're hitting any, bumps in the road or roadblocks with that sort of stuff. So good morning, Patrick. How you doing?
Good morning. How are you?
I'm great.
Everybody.
Thanks for being on here with us.
Yeah, thank you so much for allowing me the opportunity to be able to share some of my experience, and I really appreciate it. It's an honor.
Well, let's start off. Like I said, you've taken, and this was probably, 5 or 6 days ago when I went and looked up the number, so it's probably even grown since then, but you've taken over 30 listings since the beginning of the year. Can you just tell us a little bit about where are you getting the listings? And then maybe spend a couple minutes talking about your process and your approach right now during, the COVID situation. How are you addressing it a little bit differently than maybe you were before around each of those lead generation sources you're doing to drive that listing inventory?
Yeah, for me, it's just really it's consistency. It's every day. Every day, Monday through Friday, I'm on the phones first thing in the morning. I have a time block, and it's like the most important thing. It's the one thing of the one thing, and like really nothing else matters. It really doesn't, and especially through a time like this. And so having the ability to focus and know that that's what is ultimately driving the results of the organization. I mean, that is literally the fruits of the organization, is to be able to get on the phone every single day, make contacts, to be able to set appointments, to be able to take listings, to be able to have contracts, to be able to get paid. I mean, that's like really the bottom line. So it's a very high central focused. For me, I'm typically here on the phone by 8 o'clock in the morning. And I spend typically until about 11 o'clock, 11:30, making phone calls. And I'll start with new lead generation, and then kind of go into follow up and database and and client care, and I'm I have a number of calls that I have a minimum expectation for myself to be able to make, and like that's the only thing that matters. That's it.
So have you increased the number that you're looking at, or the hours on the phone since all this started? Because it sounds like you're doing about 3 to 4 hours.
I really haven't. Yeah, I really haven't. There's really for me, there's really only so many hours in a day that I can make so many contacts. And I always typically think I would rather have more quality conversations that's ultimately, having the result of an appointment than just spinning through the database and just saying, oh, I made, 30 contacts today or 35 contacts today, having real estate related conversations. I would rather make, 15, 20, 10 really, really good, awesome conversations that, have resulted in engagement and pique curiosity and to be able to move that needle closer to an appointment or to an appointment. So it really hasn't changed. I mean, there's so many hours in the day. You have 2 appointments that you set, and maybe a couple of showings for that day, or, you have, emails to respond to and current contracts to be able to negotiate. I mean, so it's not like I can go from 20 contacts to 40 just because we're in coronavirus. It's been steadily, I think my focus is with people that are truly motivated. Somebody that, says, well, I'll just test the market. They're not, that's not what I'm looking for right now. Anybody that's wanting to overprice their listings or anything of that sort, I'm not willing to have that sit in my inventory. It's just,
so you're applying a higher level of standards to the business you're choosing to take on. Right?
Yes, very much so. People that are ready, willing, and able to move forward, that have a need to be able to get the property off their books. Yep.
Okay. Could you share with us maybe a couple of scripts or questions you use to kind of help weed those people out from the other calls that you're making? So when you get somebody on the phone, what are you asking to determine whether or not that's somebody you want to move forward with?
It's just having good conversations and asking amazing questions, right? I was in a class, mega camp last year with Diana Kokoska, and she said that you are not able to be the local expert unless you're truly curious. You're coming from a place of curiosity. So how do I be able to find out how I can be their local expert unless I'm asking the right questions? All right. I mean, and it really starts off now, when we sell your property, where are you intending to go to next?
That's awesome.
That's it. I mean, that's it. That will open up the whole, and then I just keep going from there. What does that look like for you? Do you have a time frame? How do you feel about that move?
So you're using a lot of language that sounds like it came from something like Bold or right embedded commands.
Sure. I mean, come on, I mean, it's, I come from a sales background, so I know the value of good questions. And I mean, Bold and Keller Williams has totally transformed, the way that I look at sales within this industry, because I only have 3 years of real estate experience, 4 years going into my 4th year of real estate experience. However, Bold is really phenomenal, and it's really the education and the training that Keller Williams has to offer. It's amazing. It's totally mind-blowing. So when I implement these skill sets specifically within this industry with my own background and my willingness and consistency, it transforms everything.
So what would you say your top 3 sources are for business right now?
Expireds and database, and past clients, which is database. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so expired stuff, how's that changed? Your approach to expireds, how's that changed during all this? Are you seeing it's
not really
easier to get a hold of people? Is it harder to get a hold of people?
It's easier to get a hold of people. And I think that there are some reluctancy. I think things are, getting a little shaky. Definitely people are like, antsy. So we have to really super hyper focus on our follow-ups, from once we take a listing to prior to it going on the market, and, just really maintaining visibility in front of them. I think it's really crucial right now, because people are getting shaky. People can make a change in their mind in like a heartbeat, literally. It's like, people get that fear and, oh my gosh, am I making the right decision? Is now the right time to sell? So maintaining like constant vigilance and diligence in front of them, I think that's really important. Yeah.
So could we dig into that a little bit? You bring up a really good point, and it's come up on some of our calls before. The consumers out there, whether they're buyers or sellers, I know you're talking to mostly sellers. There is a lot of unease, right, on their part. They're wondering, is it the right time? Is it the wrong time? What should I do? What are you doing to reassure them that, this is a good market to be in if you are looking to sell your home? What kind of information are you giving them? What are you telling them to help them feel more at ease with their decision to sell?
I've actually been talking, this is what I truly believe. I feel this in my heart. So this is, and it comes not only what you say, but how you say it, right? Which helps people to feel confident. If you're confident and you have the ability to communicate effectively to your clients in which you're serving, you're the local expert. I have the ability, the resources, the knowledge, the information available at my disposal to be able to share with you. Interest rates today at a 50-year all-time low. Okay, that's a huge driver for people that are looking to purchase a new home. That's a big amount of buying power, right? And then inventory being relatively low. You have a lot of people that have taken their properties off the market as well. And people are thinking that there's opportunity to get a good deal for sure, 100%. And I'm sure there are opportunities to get a good deal. If somebody's really, truly motivated, they got to get the property sold quickly. If somebody's lost a job or something of that sort, there are some opportunities, especially if one is working with a cash buyer. I believe that. So the biggest thing is that I see, you have, a huge, tremendous amount of people that are moving from the northern states like New York and New Jersey and Connecticut and Massachusetts. And you're looking for people that are in Michigan and Illinois. Huge tax states, $10,000, $15,000 tax bills per year. The second biggest generation of buyers right now is the baby boomer, right? And that's just a shy hair short of the millennial generation. And we have a lot of baby boomers that are here in the Southwest Florida markets that are looking to retire, or that are going into retirement, or that are already retired. And, they're looking to free. You got $10,000 or $15,000, 10 years of that is $150,000 that eats into somebody's IRA with a volatile stock market. They want to get out from that, so they're looking to move their money or their lifestyle into a place that's more sustainable. You can get an average $300,000 home for maybe $2,500 tax bill. That's a lot greater sustainability. So we have a lot of people that are moving from the northern states in droves, and especially you have, highly densely populated areas, I think, overall, and people want to get out of the highly densely populated areas after this coronavirus.
Yeah,
I think that people are going to be changing their attitudes and their perspectives on, living in a, big city. I think people are, we're getting a lot of phone calls from people on our listings from up north. A tremendous amount of phone calls right now.
yeah. I've even seen some agents. I'm part of some groups on Facebook with command and running Facebook ads, that sort of stuff. And I've seen some agents using the tool that we have in our referral platform, because we can actually go and look and see, okay, if I'm in Sarasota, what are my feeder markets? And then they're targeting ads in those markets for their business, because like you said, some of those areas people are, we're already starting to move, and now this has just kind of accelerated their plan.
Yeah. It's accelerating this whole shift. And I think a lot of people are ready to get out quick. They want to get out of New York. They want to get out of Massachusetts. They're coming down here in droves every single day, and we get a lot of people. So that's the other thing that we're communicating to sellers to help them understand. Now is a good time to sell. You have low inventory. You have historic all-time low interest rates. There's not a lot to choose from. New builds pretty much probably stopped. If you look at all the current existing spec build, they're blowing stuff out 6%, $10,000 concessions, closing costs, things like this. They want to get that stuff off their books. I don't think that they're looking to, their trajectory, the next phase of their development. I think they're, a lot of new home construction is taking a slowdown right now. People are a little bit apprehensive, especially these builders.
Sure.
So, and that also creates, for a resale, that creates opportunity for that seller for sure.
So I have two more questions. We've got like 50 people on the call, so I know we'll have a bunch from them. But my next one kind of ties into what you were just talking about. So seeing as how you're carrying so many listings right now, you've probably had more experience with this than most people. But what are you doing to keep your current book of business calm and on track, right? Because I'm sure there's been some sellers out there that were already in the market, right? We weren't trying to get them to list. They were already listed with us, and they started to freak out or get antsy or worry about the showing numbers or the sales numbers. What are you doing to reassure them to, weather the storm and stay on track and all that kind of thing, so that we're not losing business that's already in the pipeline?
I'm just touching base with everybody, and I do believe that I have opportunity to do better with that. I really do. I've only had one person that's withdrawn their listing since this whole coronavirus. one person. And that was a stale listing anyway. It was probably a little bit overpriced. And I was like, yeah, okay, no big deal. It's not really the end of the world. One person, you know,
Okay.
in almost 2 months now.
That's awesome. And my final question is, what are you doing around expense management? Because I know that you and your director of operations, Erica, have really dug into that side of your business. So how important do you think it is for agents out there, whether they're running a huge real estate business like you are, whether they're just getting started, whether they're somewhere in the middle, how important do you think that is? And what are some things you've done around that?
Well, number one is I've eliminated one office. We have coaching, and they've been gracious enough to be able to cut their cost for a temporary amount of time. I'm not sure. We've renegotiated on some things. I'm splitting a cost, with another agent. I really don't have a whole lot of cost. I've never had cost. I've always run at super high margins. The last 2 years, I've probably ran about 70% profit. This year so far, year to date, it's probably like 55, maybe 60% profit. And, so I've never had a huge amount of expenses anyway. I've always been mindful, because the way that I look at it is, this is just me personally, until we have really truly evolved skill sets that we're mastering our skill sets with respect to lead generation, with respect to prospecting based skill sets. I'm not really too enthusiastic or thrilled about spending a ton of money on marketing and advertising. I want to get really, really, really good at what I do first. Then when we have a solid built out organization, then turn the heat up with marketing and blow it out of the water.
I love that. That's awesome. So, guys, that's what we all need to be striving for right now, right? We need to rely on our skills. We need to rely on the training that's available to us to take advantage of. We need to rely on those kinds of things rather than just throwing more money at the situation, right? That's what we need to be scaling back right now, and we need to get really good at what we're doing. So last 10 minutes or so, I want to open up to questions from the group. I saw Ron Pepka, you had a question in the chat. If you just want to ask Patrick yourself.
Sure. What expectations are you setting, considering the showings are down 45% and sales are down 25% at the listing appointment? In the old days, old days of 2 months ago, you could go and say, properly priced home will sell in 30 days. What expectations are you setting now, so you're not blown out of the water and they call you up and say, you said this, you said that?
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. Right at the turn of this, things were kind of like iffy. We didn't really know exactly what the whole thing was going to be all about. Now I'm communicating to people, if you want to move your property, and again, I'm making sure that these people are ready, willing, and able to move. They want to sell. They have to sell. They have a condition in place that requires them to sell. That's really where I feel like I have an opportunity to be of service. Somebody just says, well, I want to sell it because I want to get top dollar and I'll just stick it out there for whatever price. I'm like, I'm not interested in that. I'm really not. Will I communicate and be able to work and overcome that objection, to communicate that, like, listen, if you want to get the property sold, it needs to be properly priced. And so I'm communicating to sellers, when I go in, it's a competition, right? Because we have, and I communicate everybody, prior to this whole coronavirus, we're running at about 60, 70 showings a week. I think the first couple of weeks that we went in, I went down to about 15, 12 showings one week, and then 15 showings the next week. 2 weeks ago, we went up to about 25 showings. This week, I think we'll be up at about 30 showings. So the showing inventory is activity is going back up, which is a good thing. I think it's healthily, we're seeing a nice little uptick again. However, that's still down from like 60, 65 showings a week. So you're exactly spot on, about 45, 50% reduction in showing activity. So it's a race to the first qualified, ready, willing, and able buyer. So if you got X amount of inventory and you only have X amount of buyers, it's a race to the first contract. So if you got 5 people that are active on the market, You want to be the most competitively priced to be able to secure that contract with that buyer who is ready, willing, and able. And that's what I'm communicating to the sellers.
Marcia, do you want to ask your question? Marcia's having a microphone problem. I'll ask it for you. So Marcia says, what are you telling buyers about the future of the market? Will prices hold, or are we expecting a dip in prices? Should they wait?
It depends on their situation, I think. I mean, nobody really knows what the future will hold. I mean, nobody has a crystal ball. I would never be able to tell, somebody, should you wait? I mean, I'm not an economist or anything. I'm a real estate agent, and yes, I know the numbers. And right now, interest rates are at a 50-year low. If you are obtaining financing, it doesn't make sense not to buy right now. I mean, especially if we have an opportunity to find a motivated seller.
I think that's a really good point. Like when you look at interest rates being, 3% thereabouts, what is it? Every percent of interest is equivalent to 10% of the purchase price or something. So, okay, let's say you have a buyer in the market right now, and they do come in and they're looking at a $250,000 home, and they purchase that right now, and a month from now that home drops to $240,000 or $30,000. Well, but the interest rates are back up to 4% or 4.5% or whatever. They still save money if you look at it that way, because interest rates are not going to stay where they are. They can't, right? They're going to creep back up to a more reasonable level over time. So it's not just about the price of the home. It's about a number of things. Interest rates, like Patrick said, you've also got to consider the fact that right now there's less buyers in the market, but when all this dust settles and people start feeling normal again, you're going to get a flood of buyers back in. So there's going to be more competition for those listings. So they have things that work in their favor right now. We just have to be able to communicate.
And I want to, again, communicate. Again, I don't know this 100% with certainty. However, this is what I feel, and this is what I'm seeing when I get, phone calls on my listings regularly. This is what I'm hearing, right? I have a lot of people that are saying, I want to get out of New York or Massachusetts or New Jersey or Connecticut or Rhode Island or New Hampshire, or Vermont. I mean, they're all super high tax states, Michigan. I mean, they're getting crushed. I think we've probably had more buyers from Michigan than any other state for a couple of years in a row now. Wisconsin, Minnesota. I mean, Illinois. They want to get out. It's cold. It's high tax. It's not sustainable. So I think at least here, Southwest Florida, no matter what happens over, the country and the United States, I think at least here we have, a big buyer pool of baby boomers. I think that's going to always help this overall market. I don't really see us having a huge correction over the next 5, 10, 15 years. If we do have a correction, maybe 10, 15%. But again, we're talking about interest rates being at an all-time low. That would be a balance. That would be a break-even point at that, So I don't know. It just depends on their situation, really, and what their motivations are.
Yeah, and Ron in the chat said we're going to have a boom when this is all over, and I agree with that. And you're hearing that from many, many economists and industry experts. So make sure your buyers take advantage of the fact that they're still in the market. Many people are not, but will be returning once they have a higher level of security, and they feel better. So let's hear from somebody else. Sandra, do you want to ask your question? Sandra Kirkpatrick. You there? All right, I'll ask this one too. It says, what type of software are you using to get people's information? So are you talking about expired, Sandra? So where are you getting your expired listings is what she's asking.
Vulcan 7. It's probably, in my opinion, the best data. That's what I've been using for the past 3 years, 2 years, 2.5, I don't know, something like that. And I just want to say this too, if you're a newer agent, don't spend money on something until you have a return on investment, right? So like when I very first started, I was brand new in the business. I hadn't earned the first commission check yet, So what I had done was called everybody in Zillow that was a for sale by owner, every single person. And I just kept calling those people in that little area where I lived. And I just let everybody know I'm a real estate agent, wanted to find out if you might be willing to have a conversation with what I can bring forth to the table. And I just called, and I think, the very first week I got, 7% listing in Northport, and it just took off from there. So I didn't spend, the money on all these databases and stuff like this. I wanted to make sure that I had a return on investment before I started investing. But you got to make sure you have a system in place that you're going to use every single day. Just having it, making a couple of calls here and there is not going to cut it. Make your calls every single day. Time block every single day. That's the most important thing. The number one thing, or the one thing. When I make phone calls, I know I make $1,000 an hour making telephone calls. So if anything gets in the way of that, if I make less than $1,000 doing another task item, I need to leverage that out.
Hey, Patrick.
Yeah.
Hey, Tim. Are you seeing a difference between expired and canceled when you call?
What? I'm not sure what the question is.
People are canceling their listings and going off the market. So if you call, are you calling to put them back on the market? Are they hesitant to do that, or are they just willing to talk to you? Cancel listings.
Yeah, I think they're willing to talk to. I think canceled, expired listings, they're both good. I mean, I take a lot of listings on both expired and canceled.
All right, guys, we probably got time for one more question. If you guys want to jump in, otherwise we can start wrapping up. So one more question if somebody's got one. Nothing? Okay.
I do. I have a question. Hey, it's Carolyn. How are you?
Go ahead.
Hey.
Hi. So besides phone calls, what else are you using as lead generation, or if anything?
Nothing really. I mean, I might run a few campaigns here on command. By the way, I just want to throw this out, being that I'm involved in the technology committee, and I mean, there's some really amazing platforms. This is some unbelievable technology. So we've been doing a few video virtual walkthrough tours on our listings, and I will continue to do this. We've just invested in a Theta V camera, which is 360 camera also. And I'm taking those videos and putting them in YouTube, and then taking that YouTube video and building out a landing page for that listing. And then I take that listing and put in the market snap and the listing itself. I mean, literally takes 5 minutes to build out a super amazing functional website, which is unbelievable. I mean, I really can't even believe that you can create your own property website in literally 5 minutes, and it looks amazing. So I'm taking that video walkthrough tour, putting it in YouTube, putting that YouTube video in this landing page, putting a lead capture form in the landing page, putting the download my app in the landing page, and then taking that landing page and running a campaign on it to create impressions and exposure, additional exposure above and beyond everything else that we're doing, to drive traffic to that website, so then they can watch the video, put their information in lead capture form, instant notification via Kelly. I mean, that's a really amazing piece of technology. That's the only other thing that I'm really doing as far as, like, marketing, but that's not even really on a consistent basis. At some point in the future, we just don't have the ability to service all of those inquiries. I mean, if I spend $300 in 10 days, I have more leads than I know what to do with, and I really can't even get to them all, let alone everybody that's calling on the listings and Zillow inquiry and Realtor.com inquiry. I mean, it's just, I get more phone calls, inquiries on signs than I even know what to do with, let alone running a campaign on Facebook or Instagram or Google AdWords or whatever. So,
and I'll just share real quick before you wrap up. So I'm running a campaign through Command right now on Facebook to generate leads. And the campaign I'm running right now, I'm generating leads at $1.05 per lead. So $1 per lead. And it was just a little $30 spend. I'm about halfway through that campaign. So I've spent just over $14. I've generated 14 leads in the last 3 or 4 days. And this was like my first shot at it, right? I'm going to tweak it. I'm going to see if I can make it a little bit more effective, a little better, change it up a little bit. So I'm just kind of lapping this out to figure out what's grabbing people the most. And I am not an expert at this. I'm just going on some Facebook groups, seeing how other people are doing it, going in the Command Facebook group, seeing what tips people have. But you can generate leads. And I see people on those groups that have really perfected their craft with this, doing it for 20 to 30 cents per lead.
Yeah. And I have a buyer that we're showing on Sunday this week. Just a couple of campaigns on these, that I've been talking about on building out the landing page. I've only really made, they're at the top of the funnel. Most of these people are at the top of the funnel. They click through and, it's our job to move them through the funnel. Now, the other really cool thing is, I just want to say this too. We can build out smart plans to automatically set them up as soon as they come into the database, put them in on a smart plan where they get a text message through command every other day. They get an email every other day subsequent to the text message. So they're getting information every single day, just kind of a generic, hey, what's going on? Thank you so much. Just wanted to see if you knew that the interest rates were at an all-time low, or, very generic, so that we get a response from them. Once we get a response from them, then we know, okay, we're moving them through the funnel, depending on what the response is. And again, we also get automatic notification when we get a response if they reply via text message. So you can load up every single one of these leads that come in, put them into a smart plan, customizable, that takes maybe 10 minutes to build out. And then now they're on an automatic drip for, let's say, 3 months or 6 months. You can redo that, recycle it, have it on repeat or whatever. And, just keep, and you don't even have to do anything. It's working for you on your behalf. This is the technology that Keller Williams has to offer. I mean, it's amazing. I wouldn't even consider being with any other organization. It's mind blowing. And so having that ability to set that up on a drip, automatic drip, where they get an email from me, they get a text message from me every other day. But anyway, I mean, I've, spent $100 on one campaign and, generating probably 20 leads, 25 leads and $100. And, I've only made a contact with a few of them. They've answered. One of the few people that have answered, we got $400,000 buyer. It's $100. I mean, it's unbelievable. And I think that's out of those 20 leads so far, maybe 3 or 4 of them I was able to make contact with. So 1 out of 4. They're ready, willing, and able to go. They're a motivated buyer. They have a buyer for their property. And as soon as they find something, they're ready to move forward. Awesome. I think that's a pretty good cost per, a cost of sale.
Yeah, you'd spend $100 to generate a $12,000 commission right now. I think pretty much everybody on this call, right? All right, guys, so we're a little over our time. Thank you so much, Patrick. It was a great call. I know the agents on here enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Guys, we're going to be doing things a little differently next week now that the staff's back in the office full time. We're going to do our Zoom calls Monday mornings and Friday mornings. Unless we hear different and you guys want to keep doing them more frequently, then we'll do that. We just figured with us being back in the office and probably starting to do some more stuff in person, right? Not big group things, but we're going to switch it up and do Mondays and Fridays starting next week. We'll see how that goes. Maybe we'll go back to more frequently or whatever. We'll wait for your input on that. But that's going to be the plan for next week. Thank you all for being with us this morning. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Patrick.
Everybody go get on the phones.